Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid discomfort. It's natural. The brain is wired for survival, and survival often means choosing the easiest path, the one with the least resistance. But the uncomfortable truth is this: growth does not happen in comfort. Transformation, whether physical, emotional, mental, or even spiritual, is always born in the spaces where resistance is present. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the compass. It points you toward where the work needs to be done. When you deliberately step into discomfort, when you lean into the things that challenge you, you are quite literally teaching your nervous system that it can survive, adapt, and thrive through stress. Every time you make the choice to engage with something hard instead of avoiding it, your brain changes, neuroplasticity is activated. That means new connections are formed, new capacities are built, and new identities begin to emerge. You start to become someone who is not controlled by fear, fatigue, doubt, or the need for immediate gratification. The problem is that we've been trained to seek comfort in everything. We want ease in our work, convenience in our routines, and certainty in our plans. We reach for the phone when boredom hits. We escape to distractions when anxiety surfaces. We avoid difficult conversations, skip the gym when we feel tired, delay uncomfortable tasks, and numb ourselves with food, screens, or overthinking. But every single time we choose the easy way out, we are reinforcing a neural pattern that says, I can't handle this. Over time, that pattern becomes our personality. We become reactive instead of responsive. We become impulsive instead of intentional. We become fragile instead of anti-fragile. The human brain is incredibly adaptive. It will get better at whatever you repeatedly ask it to do. If you train it to run from discomfort, it will get excellent at escaping. If you train it to lean into challenge, it will get excellent at overcoming. The goal is not to seek pain for the sake of pain, but to recognize that stress, when properly managed, is the stimulus for all growth. The same way muscles grow when you lift weights that strain them, your mind grows when it is placed under cognitive and emotional tension. This is called hormesis, a process where exposure to small, manageable amounts of stress leads to increased strength and resilience. Cold showers, fasting, breath work, deliberate focus, uncomfortable conversations, early mornings, physical exercise, deep work. All of these are tools to place the system under stress in a controlled way. They build your capacity to remain calm, centered, and clear even when life becomes chaotic. And life will become chaotic. The question is not if, but when. The best time to prepare for it is now. By deliberately placing yourself in small moments of daily discomfort, you build trust with yourself. You prove to your own nervous system that discomfort is not dangerous. It's a doorway. Every rep in the gym isn't just building muscle, it's building self-respect. Every time you show up to meditate instead of scroll, you're telling your mind, I am in control. Every time you hold your breath in a cold plunge or finish a hard run or push through a difficult conversation, you're sculpting a new identity, one that doesn't fold under pressure, one that doesn't retreat at the first sign of stress. You are becoming the kind of person who can lead, who can endure, who can elevate others because you've done the internal work. Discomfort is not something to be feared or avoided. It's something to be scheduled. It should be part of your routine, your lifestyle, your training. And the amazing thing is, the more you expose yourself to it, the less power it has over you. That's not because it gets easier, but because you get stronger. You start to crave the challenge. You start to notice that the things that once felt impossible are now your warm-up. You begin to trust yourself in high-stakes situations because you've trained for it in low-stakes environments. You stop running and you start rising. This is how greatness is built. Not in the comfort of perfect plans, but in the fire of daily resistance. Your nervous system is the command center of your entire life. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every decision you make, and every action you take flows through it. Yet most people never think about it. They focus on motivation, productivity, or performance without realizing that if your nervous system is dysregulated, None of those things can truly function at their highest potential. You can't focus if your nervous system is in a constant state of hyperarousal. You can't be creative when your body feels unsafe. You can't make rational decisions when you're in a chronic fight or flight mode. And you certainly can't build lasting habits if your internal state is chaotic. That's why regulating your nervous system is not just a suggestion, it is the foundation. Without regulation, everything else collapses. The body and brain must feel safe, balanced, and supported if they are to work at full capacity. Start by getting sunlight into your eyes within 30 minutes of waking. It's not just a feel-good habit. It's a powerful reset for your circadian rhythm, which regulates sleep, alertness, hormone function, and mood. That single act tells your body that it's daytime, helping to regulate cortisol and melatonin levels so you can feel energized during the day and sleep deeply at night. Then, build in some form of movement early in the day. Walking, stretching, or even a short workout activates your body in ways that improve dopamine release, sharpen attention, and improve mood. These things are simple but profoundly effective. They're not just healthy habits, they're nervous system training. And the nervous system you train is the life you get to live. Another powerful tool is breath work. You don't need to meditate for an hour to feel better. Just slowing down your exhale can immediately calm the system. For example, the physiological sigh, 2 short inhales followed by a long exhale, is proven to reduce stress quickly and regulate heart rate. This kind of practice can be used in moments of anxiety, anger, overwhelm, or even before important events. It tells the brain, you're okay. You're in control. It's not about escaping stress, but learning to work with it, to move through it without it taking over. Breathing is the remote control to your nervous system, and most people never touch it. Digital inputs also matter. When you wake up and immediately check your phone, you're introducing a flood of information and distraction before your system is even awake. Notifications, emails, social media, they hijack your attention, raise your cortisol, and scatter your focus for the entire day. Instead, carve out space for stillness in the morning. Even 10 minutes of quiet journaling or intention setting can create stability that carries into your work, your relationships, and your decision making. Throughout the day, give yourself micro breaks from stimulation. Step outside, take a few deep breaths, look at the horizon. This isn't luxury, it's maintenance for your mind. If you never let your system down-regulate, it will eventually break down. Sleep is another cornerstone. You cannot outwork a broken sleep cycle. Poor sleep leads to poor memory, low energy, irritability, decreased immunity, and impaired judgment. Yet many people treat sleep like an optional add-on. The reality is that sleep is one of the most powerful forms of nervous system recovery. It is where the brain detoxifies, processes memory, and prepares for the next day. Protect your sleep by minimizing blue light before bed, keeping your room cool and dark, going to bed, and waking up at consistent times. Even a small improvement in sleep quality can create a dramatic shift in how regulated, clear, and resilient you feel. Finally, nutrition and hydration matter more than most people think. Your gut is directly connected to your brain through the vagus nerve. What you eat literally affects your mood, focus, and energy levels. Processed foods, excess sugar, and constant caffeine can overstimulate your system, leading to crashes, mood swings, and burnout. Whole, nutrient-dense foods support neurotransmitter function and hormonal balance, which means you feel better, think sharper, and act with more intent. Hydration is often overlooked, but even mild dehydration can impair cognitive performance. Drinking enough water throughout the day supports brain function, detoxification, and emotional stability. When your nervous system is regulated, life flows differently. You respond instead of react. You move with intention instead of urgency. You create from clarity instead of chaos. And it all begins with how you care for that inner system. Not once in a while, but every single day. The thoughts we think shape the reality we live in. Every belief we hold, every doubt we entertain, every story we repeat to ourselves becomes part of the lens through which we view the world and ourselves. But here's the truth. Your thoughts are not always accurate. In fact, many of them are just leftover noise from past experiences, fears, and old conditioning. The brain is not a truth-seeking machine, it's a prediction machine. It takes the past and uses it to guess what will happen next. If you've experienced failure, rejection, or trauma, your brain tries to protect you by projecting those experiences into the future. It whispers things like, "You're not good enough," "You always fail," or "You're not ready." And because these thoughts feel familiar, we believe them, we internalize them, we build identities around them, but none of that makes them true. The first step to breaking free is learning to observe your thoughts instead of automatically accepting them. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves your attention or obedience. That voice in your head is often just a recording, one that plays on loop until you stop and question it. Start noticing when you hear limiting or negative thoughts. Pause and ask, is this true? Not does it feel true, but is it objectively true? Then ask, where did I learn this? Often you'll find that what you're believing came from someone else, a teacher, a parent, a painful moment, and you've never challenged it. The brain likes efficiency, and it takes the path of least resistance, which means repeating old thoughts is easier than creating new ones. But ease is not the same as truth. You must disrupt the pattern. Rewiring your brain starts with action, not massive, overwhelming action, but small, deliberate steps that contradict the negative thought. If the voice says you're not disciplined, then you get up and make your bed. If it says you can't focus, then you set a 5-minute timer and give full attention to one task. Each time you act against the old narrative, you're creating a new one. This is neuroplasticity in action, the brain reshaping itself based on new behaviors and experiences. Over time, the old voice grows quieter and a new one emerges. A voice that says, I can do hard things, I'm in control, and I'm not who I was, I'm who I decide to be. Your identity is not fixed, it's fluid. It changes with every decision you make, every belief you reinforce, and every challenge you overcome. But to shift identity, you have to stop treating your thoughts as absolute. You have to be willing to rewrite the script. That means becoming aware of your mental patterns and choosing to act in spite of them. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the refusal to let fear dictate your behavior. That applies to your inner dialogue too. Some of the most damaging voices you'll ever hear won't come from the outside world, they'll come from within. But the good news is you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. And that gives you the power to choose which ones you believe and which ones you let go. This process isn't about pretending everything is fine or plastering positivity over pain. It's about becoming honest with yourself, recognizing when your thoughts are based in fear or distortion and replacing them with actions that align with your values and vision. Thoughts become beliefs, beliefs become behavior, behavior becomes your life. So when you challenge a single thought, you're not just fighting a moment of negativity or reclaiming the direction of your life. It's a slow process. It requires awareness, effort, and repetition, but it works. Every time you push back on a false belief, you weaken its grip. And every time you follow through on a new behavior, you make space for a stronger, more grounded version of yourself to emerge. You must be ruthless in protecting your mind. That means paying attention to what you allow in, the media you consume, the conversations you have, the stories you replay. If your mental space is filled with negativity, drama, and doubt, then that's what you'll create more of. But if you fill it with truth, with clarity, with intentional focus, then your thoughts will start to support your goals instead of sabotage them. You get to choose what stays and what goes. You get to edit the story. The mind is malleable, and every day you are shaping it. The question is, are you shaping it consciously, or are you letting it be shaped by fear, habit, and lies? Your environment is not neutral. It is either shaping you or breaking you down, consciously or unconsciously. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the places you spend your day, and the routines you follow are all sending signals to your brain. These signals shape your habits, your mindset, and your identity. Every word you hear, every image you see, every conversation you engage in, all of it is molding your neural pathway. If you are surrounded by people who complain, doubt themselves, procrastinate, and avoid responsibility, your brain begins to normalize those behaviors. If you constantly consume content that is chaotic, negative, shallow, or fear-based, your emotional state begins to reflect that chaos. If your space is disorganized, noisy, or filled with distractions, Your ability to focus and execute your vision becomes compromised. The truth is, your environment either supports your future or sustains your past. There is no middle ground. Most people underestimate the power of influence. They believe they are in control of their lives, when in reality they are being pulled by invisible strings tied to their surroundings. You might have the right goals, the right mindset, and even the right habits, but if your environment contradicts your vision, it will slowly erode your momentum. It will chip away at your belief in yourself, drown your discipline, and make excellence feel like an uphill battle. On the other hand, when you craft an environment that aligns with your intentions, everything becomes smoother. Your brain doesn't have to fight every moment. It begins to flow in the direction you've chosen. You no longer rely solely on willpower. The structure around you becomes your silent partner, nudging you toward who you want to become. That starts with people. You need to audit your circle with brutal honesty. Who do you spend the most time with? Do they inspire you or drain you? Do they challenge you to grow or enable your limitations? Energy is contagious. Ambition is contagious. So is fear. So is laziness. It's not about judging people, but about protecting your evolution. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do need to be intentional about who gets the most access to your energy. Seek out those who push you to think bigger, act braver, and live more aligned with your values. One powerful conversation can shift your direction more than months of self-talk. Don't underestimate the impact of proximity. Next, evaluate the digital environment you live in. Most people spend hours a day in a virtual space, their phone, their laptop, social media, streaming platforms. These platforms are shaping your attention span, your self-esteem, and your worldview. If your feed is filled with noise, distractions, and comparison traps, your mind becomes cluttered, distracted, and anxious. Instead of being inspired, you feel inadequate. Instead of being focused, you're overwhelmed. Clean your digital space. Unfollow accounts that don't elevate you. Limit exposure to toxic content. Follow creators, thinkers, and voices that feed your growth, teach you something new, or challenge you in meaningful ways. Set boundaries for screen time and make space for silence, nature, books, real connection. Your attention is your greatest currency. Spend it wisely. Physical space matters too. Your room, your workspace, your home, they should be designed with intention. Clutter is not just a visual problem, it's a mental one. A chaotic space tells your brain it's unsafe, incomplete, out of control. A clean, simple, and organized environment sends a different message. You are grounded, clear, and in command. Even small changes, making your bed, organizing your desk, adding elements of nature, setting up a routine corner for reading or journaling can have a profound psychological impact. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment. Create a space that reflects the future you are building, not the past you are trying to escape. Finally, rituals and routines are part of your environment too. The way you start your day, the habits you repeat, the sounds, smells, and visuals you surround yourself with, they all cue your brain to behave in certain ways. Are your rituals designed to activate your best self, or are they just old loops of behavior you've never questioned? Begin your day with intention, end your day with reflection. Build anchors into your schedule that remind you who you are and where you're going. Your life is not just shaped by motivation or information. It is shaped by the systems you build around you, and your environment is the most powerful system of all. Time is the one resource that can never be replenished. No matter how much money you earn, how much energy you regain, or how many opportunities come your way, you cannot create more time. Every second that passes is gone forever. And yet, it's one of the most undervalued elements in people's lives. Most people say they don't have enough time, but the truth is they're simply not using it well. They're giving their hours away to distractions, excuses, fears, and meaningless activities that offer instant gratification but leave behind long-term regret. Time doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't pause while you overthink, hesitate, or procrastinate. It moves forward with or without your permission. The question is whether you will move with it or be left behind by it. Waiting for the right time is one of the most dangerous mindsets a person can have. The right time rarely announces itself. It doesn't knock. It doesn't wait. It doesn't come dressed in clarity. In fact, most of the time, the right moment feels wrong because it shows up with discomfort, uncertainty, and fear. But those are the exact signals that mean you're on the edge of change. People spend months or even years waiting to feel ready. But readiness is not a requirement for action, it's a result of it. The moment you take action, even a small one, your nervous system starts to recalibrate. Confidence grows, certainty builds, clarity sharpens. But none of that happens if you keep hesitating. Action is the antidote to fear and confusion. No matter how small the step, it shifts your momentum. Time can be a tool or a trap. If you use it intentionally, even a single day can become a breakthrough. If you waste it mindlessly, even a year will pass without any real change. The difference is found in your decisions. Every morning you wake up, you're being handed a new batch of hours. What you choose to do with them determines the person you become. There are people who have turned their lives around in 6 months with intense focus, discipline, and clarity. And there are people who have wasted 5 years doing nothing but overanalyzing, scrolling, and telling themselves next month. Time doesn't ask for your permission. It simply exposes your priorities. If something matters, it gets time. If it doesn't, it gets excuses. The danger lies in believing that you have more time than you really do. There's always this illusion that tomorrow will be better, that next week you'll be more motivated, that next month you'll finally start. But that mindset creates a loop, and many live their entire lives stuck inside it. You must learn to act now, not later. If an idea sparks something in you, act on it. If you know you need to change a habit, don't wait for a perfect Monday. Start now. If you've been avoiding a difficult decision, confront it today. Stop letting hesitation steal your life in small, unnoticed pieces. You can't change the past. You can't control the future, but you have full power over what you do with the time you have right now. People often think they need huge changes to transform their lives, but often it's the consistent use of small pockets of time that make the biggest difference. 1 hour of deep focus per day compounds into mastery. 10 minutes of reflection each night creates emotional intelligence. 30 minutes of reading daily builds a reservoir of wisdom. The problem isn't that people don't have time, it's that they waste the time they have. They're too busy doing what's urgent to ever focus on what's important. They react to life instead of creating it. They chase comfort in the moment, sacrificing their potential for the long term. Time rewards those who respect it. Those who treat each hour as a seed capable of growing into something greater. Those who choose not to drift, but to direct. This mindset requires discipline. It means saying no to distractions, delaying gratification, and aligning your schedule with your highest values, not your lowest urges. It means realizing that every minute you spend in indecision is a minute stolen from your dreams. Your future self is being built by your present choices. There's no reset button coming at the end of the year, no miracle waiting in January. The calendar doesn't change you, your actions do. And the actions that shape you most are the ones you're willing to take, even when they're hard, even when they don't feel exciting, even when no one is watching. Time is not your enemy, it's your mirror. It reflects everything you choose to do or not do with the life you've been given. Every day, your identity is being shaped by the decisions you make, the habits you repeat, and the emotions you reinforce. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is constantly learning who you are through your behavior. You are not born with a fixed personality, mindset, or work ethic. Those are constructed day by day, brick by brick, in the routines and rituals you practice. Most people wait for a breakthrough moment to change who they are, but the truth is, identity is not forged in big dramatic events. It is built quietly in the background through repetition. What you do consistently tells your brain, this is who I am. If you keep saying you're not disciplined, but you show up every morning to train, read, work, or reflect, your brain rewires to accept the new version of you. Identity follows action. This process is subtle but powerful. If you want to become someone who writes, you don't wait to feel like a writer, you sit down and write. If you want to be someone who's calm under pressure, you practice slowing your breath and staying composed when things get tough. If you want to be someone who is focused and sharp, you remove distractions and train your attention like a muscle. The more often you show up for those behaviors, the more natural they become. At first, it feels like effort. It's unfamiliar. But over time, those actions begin to define you. You stop thinking about discipline as something external and start seeing it as a reflection of who you are. Identity is not something you find, it's something you build. Many people get stuck because they try to change everything at once. They want a total transformation overnight. But that kind of approach usually leads to burnout or failure. The key is small, consistent actions that align with your future self. Instead of overhauling your entire life, focus on doing one thing today that your future self will thank you for. Show up, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Make a choice that reflects your highest values. Even if no one else sees it, every time you do that, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. Eventually, those votes become a pattern, and that pattern becomes your identity. Your brain is always watching. It notices when you keep your promises and when you break them. Every time you do what you said you would do, even if it's small, you build self-trust. That self-trust becomes confidence, and confidence fuels consistency. On the other hand, every time you say you'll change but don't follow through, you weaken that trust. You begin to question your own word. That's why discipline is not just about willpower, it's about integrity. Can you rely on yourself to follow through? Can you become someone whose actions are aligned with their words? That alignment creates internal strength. And strength isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you earn through your behavior. The more aligned your actions are with your values, the more peace you feel. Most of the inner conflict people carry doesn't come from what they can't control. It comes from the gap between what they say they want and what they actually do. Closing that gap creates a deep sense of purpose and self-respect. You stop living in the future or the past, and you begin to live in congruence with your present goals. This kind of alignment doesn't happen by accident. It's designed by conscious decision-making. You wake up and choose who you want to be, then you back it up with action. The most powerful identity shifts happen when you no longer need external validation to stay consistent. You no longer need someone else to tell you you're doing well because you already know you're living in alignment with your own values. You become self-generating. Your actions fuel your belief fuels your consistency, and your consistency reinforces your identity. This is how lasting change happens. Not through hype or motivation, but through daily reinforcement. Your brain is like clay. It molds itself based on your repeated behaviors and choices. If you want to become someone extraordinary, start with ordinary disciplines practiced daily. Your life will always follow the shape of your habits, and your habits will always be shaped by the person you believe you are becoming. The way you end the year matters more than most people realize. Many wait for January to begin making changes, believing that a fresh start magically arrives with the turning of a calendar. But transformation doesn't respond to dates, it responds to decisions. The final months of a year carry weight, momentum, and meaning. They hold the power to define how you show up in the year ahead. Ending strong is not about perfection. It's about clarity, action, and alignment. It's about using every remaining day with purpose, refusing to coast, and choosing to operate like your future is already happening. How you close this chapter becomes the tone for the next one. If you want to begin 2026 with power, focus, and self-trust, you need to start moving like that person right now. Most people slow down toward the end of the year. They check out mentally, telling themselves they'll reset after the holidays. But this mindset is a trap. It creates a pattern of delay and self-betrayal. You lose valuable time. You lose progress. You train your brain to associate the end with rest, avoidance, and passivity, when in reality, this is the most important time to lean in. Your brain is always building associations. If you teach it to wait for the new year to start, it will always need a clean slate to take action. But if you train it to finish strong, to stay sharp when others slow down, to move even when motivation fades, then you've built something that will carry far beyond any calendar date. You've built self-leadership. Every moment between now and the end of the year is a chance to practice the habits that will define you. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You don't need to wait for external permission. You simply need to act. Start the process you've been avoiding. Build the habit you've been postponing. Speak the truth you've been silencing. Get clear on what you want your life to look like in 2026 and start aligning with it today. The gap between where you are and where you want to be will not close on its own. It requires deliberate, repeated, courageous steps taken consistently, even when no one sees them. The power of this time lies in the momentum you create. When you finish the year with intensity and purpose, you carry that energy into everything that comes next. You're not stumbling into the new year hoping for change. You're already in motion. You've already proven to yourself that you can follow through, that you don't need hype or motivation to act. That kind of inner conviction is rare and powerful because it doesn't depend on outside forces. It's built internally through your daily discipline, your commitment to growth, and your refusal to waste time on things that don't matter. One of the most important things you can do right now is audit your behavior. Are you spending your time on activities that reflect your goals? Are your routines preparing you for the person you want to be? Are you surrounding yourself with people who elevate your thinking or those who distract and diminish you? The end of the year is a mirror. It shows you exactly what you've been prioritizing. If that reflection doesn't match your vision, now's the time to shift. Not later, not next month, now. It only takes one decision to turn the page. One committed choice to say enough. I'm stepping into alignment. And once you do, your brain begins to recalibrate. It starts filtering your world differently. You begin to spot opportunities, energy, and patterns that support your new identity. This season is not about overhauling your life in one dramatic burst. It's about recommitting to what matters, reestablishing your values, reconnecting with your mission, and most of all, reactivating the version of you that's been buried under fear, distraction, or fatigue. That version is still alive, still waiting, still capable. You just need to give it oxygen through action, through belief, and through consistency. Every single day between now and 2026 can be used as a training ground, a way to get sharper, stronger, and more grounded. This is the time to make your life a reflection of your standards, not your excuses. This is when the real work begins, not in January, not when it's convenient, but now, when it's hard, when it's quiet, when it counts. The greatest version of yourself is not something you stumble upon. It's not a mystery or a gift you're waiting to receive. It is built, forged through consistent, deliberate action taken in the present moment. Every day, you are standing at a crossroads between who you've been and who you could become. Most people spend their lives looking outward for change, hoping for a breakthrough, waiting for something to click. But the real transformation happens the moment you decide to stop waiting and start creating. The next version of you isn't hiding. It's being sculpted by the decisions you make when no one is watching. It emerges not through inspiration, but through repetition, the repetition of discipline, alignment, and courage. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your systems. You fall to the level of your habits. You fall to the identity you've rehearsed every day. Your brain, with all its complexity and power, doesn't operate based on potential. It operates based on patterns. If you wake up and repeat the same routines, respond to life the same way, think the same thoughts, and avoid the same discomforts, your brain has no choice but to deliver the same results. So the question isn't whether change is possible, it's whether you're interrupting the pattern long enough for change to begin. You don't need a total reinvention all at once. You need one deliberate interruption each day that tells your brain, we're doing things differently now. The most radical transformation begins in the smallest choices. Saying no to something that pulls you backwards, saying yes to something that moves you forward, getting up when you want to quit, starting when you feel unready, speaking when your voice shakes, staying calm when your emotions rise. These are not dramatic actions, but they are decisive ones. And every decisive action begins to shift your identity. The goal is not to fake it. It's to show up consistently enough that the fake becomes the real. Over time, you stop needing motivation because you've become the kind of person who does the work regardless of how they feel. That's when change becomes permanent. Clarity comes through movement. Many people sit still, overthinking, analyzing every step, waiting for a perfect plan to appear. But clarity isn't found in thinking, It's found in doing. You don't discover the path by staring at the map, you discover it by walking. The moment you begin, the path reveals itself. You learn what works, what doesn't, what energizes you, and what holds you back. Every step gives you feedback, and feedback gives you direction. If you feel lost or stuck, the worst thing you can do is wait. The best thing you can do is act, even imperfectly. Action breeds clarity, clarity breeds confidence, confidence breeds momentum. The world won't slow down for you to find your rhythm. Life will continue moving, and the only way to stay ahead is to be intentional about your direction. That means treating your energy, your time, and your attention as sacred. You cannot afford to live in reaction mode. You cannot afford to let distractions hijack your purpose. Your future is shaped by what you focus on, what you ignore, and what you tolerate. The cost of tolerating things that drain you is the life you could be living if you were fully aligned. You must raise your standards, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You're not just protecting your goals, you're protecting the mindset required to achieve them. You also have to let go of the identity that's no longer serving you. So many people cling to stories about who they are. I'm just not that kind of person. I've always been like this. It's just how I am. But those stories are prisons. You weren't born with them. You learned them. And what you learned, you can unlearn. The mind is malleable. The self is fluid. If a behavior or belief no longer serves your growth, it is your responsibility to replace it. You're not betraying yourself by evolving. You're honoring the version of you that's been buried under years of fear and doubt. To grow, you must be willing to release who you were in order to become who you're meant to be. The challenge is that no one will applaud you for doing this work in silence. No one will cheer you on every day when you choose the hard path, when you stay consistent, when you build the new version of yourself brick by brick. But that's what makes it powerful. The real work is quiet. It's invisible. It happens behind closed doors, in early mornings and late nights, in the moment when you decide not to give in to your old story. That's where the shift happens, not in front of a crowd, but deep within yourself. And when that shift takes root, the outside world has no choice but to catch up.